Both of us single dads from the Midwest, we can talk about it. Both of us single dads from the Midwest, we can talk about it. Both of us single dads from the Midwest, we can talk about it. Or we can get gully, I'll size up your body and put some white chalk around it.
Welcome to the Single Dads of the Midwest, episode 17. I'm joined by some of the original single dads, Josh, the boss, and Dustin. Josh and Dustin, feel free to introduce yourselves, but today we will be talking about this development in professional soccer of like the Super League and just random hot takes. So without further ado, I'll let Josh and Dustin introduce themselves.
Okay, so I go first. I'm Dustin. I have a pretty. I'm an Arsenal fan, so this is a topic that's really close to me. I played D3 soccer in college, so I've played soccer at a high level. But at this point, I just sit on my ass and do work all day. So that's kind of me.
Yeah, and then Single Dads of the Midwest podcast listeners know this is my third podcast on here. All three have been about soccer. It's almost like I really enjoy this sport, but both the last two episodes I have had some takes that were hot and were way off base. So I'm probably going to have some more about the Super League. But I'm excited to talk.
That just means we need even hotter takes for this podcast. You know, we got to raise the spice levels. But yeah, let's start with what's going on with the Super League. From my understanding, it was a bunch of elite soccer teams trying to be even more elites. But you guys probably know more than I can, so want to explain?
Yeah, we might be coming to this story a little late, honestly, because it's kind of fallen apart at this point. But,
right.
I still think the ramifications of it are relevant to talk about. So, as you said, it was elite teams. It was 12 of the 20 richest teams in the world coming together and looking to try to create a static league that had that was going to have 15 spots guaranteed from of the 15 original founders, and 5 spots would be played in. And I think basically the entire European and maybe even world soccer community came out in opposition against it. And basically every team in it delivered some sort of statement that was in some way backtracking, was like, we made a mistake. This is not us. Thank you for letting us know. We won't make this mistake again. You guys are great fans. We love you, and please don't hate us.
Yeah,
So basically, every team came out with a statement, like that. Josh, you're a Real Madrid fan.
I am a Real Madrid fan.
Real Madrid and Barcelona were the last ones in that.
Yes.
Are they still in it now?
They are still in it to this day. They are, and
right.
Because Florentino Perez was the person who originally started it. Florentino Perez is the president of Real Madrid. He is by far the worst president in World Soccer Federation. And like, this is coming from a Real Madrid. I do not like this man. There has been more than one time where I've been like, dude, you're an idiot. Just go somewhere else. Like, okay. And this is just another point
to be fair,
of that.
To be fair, Real Madrid. So it's interesting to me that Real Madrid and Barcelona are still in this accord, even though it's fallen apart. This cannot exist anymore. But they haven't pulled out because of whatever. Yeah, it physically can't happen anymore. There are not enough teams that could come to this league and make it relevant. But like, he's still in it, and like these clubs, Barcelona, I think pre-COVID revenues from 2019 were something in the range of $940 million, and Real Madrid pre-COVID revenues of like $700 and something million. So these are the two richest clubs in the world. So I think it's really interesting that they're the two clubs that feel most strongly about this, whereas other clubs, the third richest is Manchester United at like 500, 500 maybe 600 million annual revenue. So like what is that, like a 2/3 as much as Barcelona in terms of revenue? So these two clubs that are still in it are absolute giants when it comes to their money making apparatus. So that's kind of interesting to me that they're also the ones who are the staunchest advocates of making more money.
Well, I mean, it makes
Right.
sense that greedy people are greedy, but I'm curious why, in the world of soccer with already all the money and all the different leagues and Champions Leagues, like, why was there even this, like, momentum to get, like, a Super League? Because it seems like even though Barcelona and Real Madrid are still technically in this accord, they did get other people, at least originally, to sign on, which means a lot of these other big teams were also interested.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
a lot of the motivation behind it was money. Yes, Real Madrid and Barcelona are making like a ton of money. So if you're AC Milan or Juventus or one of the other teams that are in that were originally invited, and you can get a piece of the pie of Real Madrid and Barcelona's money, and they're inviting you to get into this fellowship where you can be like, oh, I'm a billionaire, but I can be a multi-billionaire. Okay, I think I like the sound of this. And that's where and most of that was from the ownership. Like the owners were like, yes, we're going to make so much bank off of this. And that's where this motivation came from.
That makes sense. And was the idea to be like like these teams exclusively play for this league, or would they also like kind of like the other leagues cross apply?
It was meant to replace Champions League in some regard. But I'd also like to add, there's a couple other. So we keep talking about more money, and I think we should also we should bring in why it's more money and what because like people might be looking at this and being like, so they just instead of Champions League they go and play this other midweek game. What's so big about that? How does that make them more money? And there's a couple reasons why. So the first is there's a founder's bonus associated. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but every team from the original 15 from the league's inception was going to get some amount of money from the bank, from their sponsor, in the tune of like $100 million, just cash infusion for just signing up for the league. So a lot of these teams could have just signed up for this just to get some number of millions of dollars. I don't know the exact amount off the top of my head, but the 15 founders were originally going to get a lot of money just for signing up for the league. And the other thing was the league was designed so that 15 of the teams wouldn't have the option of not getting into it, which for teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, AC Milan, Inter Milan is very appealing, because some of these teams, like this season, Arsenal's definitely not getting into Champions League unless they win the Europa League. Liverpool's probably not getting into Champions League either, and these are pretty significant revenue streams lost. And having that guaranteed revenue stream is a lot easier from a financial planning perspective for these so from the business side, from these people who are making their profit targets, making these decisions about how to budget money, knowing that you're in Champions League next year and being able to guarantee it is a big deal from a budgeting standpoint. And like it also provides, like for Liverpool, for instance, they're not likely to get into Champions League this year, and that's mostly because they've just had their entire team injured this season. So it gives teams some relief from like bad luck. So that those are kind of two main aspects, and the third aspect is that this Super League is slated to be more games, and more games means more money.
That makes sense.
Or let me rephrase it, it's more guaranteed games, because instead of having brackets of 4, it's brackets of 10. So you have 9 guaranteed games instead of 6 guaranteed games, and then the teams move into the elimination rounds, or would have moved into the elimination rounds.
Right.
The thing is dead. It's
It's
dead,
it
dead
can't happen
at this point. It can't exist. But one thing to circle back to Barcelona and Real Madrid that I find interesting about their situation is both Real Madrid and Barcelona are socio-owned, which means that they're not publicly traded companies, so their revenue streams are much more linked to match day revenue than any other club. I shouldn't say any other club in the world, but much more linked to match day revenue than most other clubs, which might be why they were such staunch advocates of this change, because it stands to benefit them more than a lot of other clubs.
Makes sense. And I heard that actually the backlash from the world community and the FIFA and all the existing other organizations was so big that some people even resigned, from what I understand. Is that true?
Well, yeah, there's only 2 teams left in the league. So like,
meant you were talking about management personnel.
Yeah, like actual people
okay.
involved,
Sorry,
like
I
actually got
misunderstood.
sacked from the clubs or something. I don't know if that happened. That's something I heard.
I mean, I don't know if I've heard
for a couple. I think one of the Italian clubs, they resigned. They were trying to get the Arsenal supporters, because I'm an Arsenal fan, so I know a lot more. They were very against Kroenke, but he released a statement saying that he was not leaving, and that's the last I heard about that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of anybody resigning.
I mean,
there's been sanctions.
There's been outrage. Yeah, it's. I find it so I don't know where you want to go with the conversation, but I actually find it very interesting, the backlash. And if you guys want to talk about that, I think that there's a lot of that's very interesting to me, because
I'm cool with that.
The backlash is interesting to me because the league structure was as Americans, like the league structure they were setting up was much more similar to American sports structures, and there's still integrity in American sports. So I find it really interesting. So it makes sense to me that the European fans would have been opposed to this, because this is something totally foreign. The promotion relegation is very, very common for European sports, but in American sports there is no promotion relegation. The teams buy into the league and then are guaranteed the spot in perpetuity, assuming that they meet some financial benchmarks and manage like some fair play rules. They're guaranteed a spot in the league for perpetuity. So that's what that is that's very similar to what the Super League was going to be like, which is, I find it interesting that so many American fans also were adamantly opposed to this as well, considering the similarities to a lot of the American leagues.
Yeah, I think the reason for that, for at least for myself, is sorry, is that it would make it too similar to how the MLS is ran, and MLS is probably one of the, if not the worst soccer leagues out there.
That you're gonna have to justify with more than just a statement, buddy.
As far as like
this
play,
is the hot take.
as far as like play, like there's not that many good like if you're turning on an MLS game, it's like not top tier soccer.
I'll agree with that, but
not like it's not poorly ran. That's not what I meant.
There have been a number of players. There have been a number of players who've come from MLS and made it in Europe on big teams. Zach Steffen is the second string goalkeeper for Man City. What's his name? Tom Davies He came from the Canadian team and is now playing on Bayern, and he's one of their best outside backs. So it's not like there's no talent.
There's no, there's
in
not
this league.
no talent.
This is like what I'm saying is.
Yeah, there's not
But I
no
don't think,
talent.
like, what
Most of the talent if there is talent in the MLS, it goes somewhere else because it can't thrive in the MLS.
Okay,
is what I'm saying.
I think that's
different
spicy.
conversation.
That's spicy. that is a spicy conversation. I would
I'm not saying there's absolutely no talent in MLS.
So
there's some good talent.
So
in MLS.
I will agree. I will agree with you. As an Earthquakes fan, which for those of you who don't know in the audience, Earthquakes are a soccer team based out of San Jose, and they have been. Now now I say this as an Earthquakes fan, mind you. They have been historically the worst team in MLS history. They have more than half the seasons they've existed, they finished either last, second to last, or third to last in their group, in their bracket, or conference, which is not great. And
yeah, it's hard being an Earthquakes fan. Because I am as well.
Where I was going with this is, there's definitely some seasons where I've looked at them and been like, yeah, these guys could be playing in a college league, and I think they do all right.
yeah.
Yeah,
but going back to the point at hand, I think it's just like, so it's a little bit too similar to like American sports. And when I'm watching soccer, I don't see it as an American sport. And so like for me, like when I watch soccer, I'm like, oh, this is not an American sport, so I don't want it ran as an American sport. So I feel like that's probably where American soccer fans were like the outrage there, where they were like, yeah, no, this is not really an American sport. It shouldn't be ran as an American sport. That's where I was kind of going with it. That
makes sense. And I think, yeah, so that's very reasonable, I think. You didn't have to say that, to say that point. You didn't have to say that MLS was shit and all the players in it were shit.
I didn't say all the players. There is talent in the MLS. I'm not saying there's no talent in the MLS. MLS, please do not sue me because I know you're listening to this.
Gonna get sued by Big Soccer.
Screw Big Soccer.
Yeah, that might actually be one of the big things with this. It was actually screw Big Soccer. Like I think so. My thought process was, and this might be wrong, but the system they were setting up wasn't like where I was trying to go was it wasn't strictly wrong because it's worked for American sports, and because it's worked for American sports, that would imply that it can work for European sports, So, but I think the issue was that these guys all came together behind closed doors and didn't ask what fans wanted, and the fans were like, "Well, screw you. We didn't want this. You didn't talk to us. So I think if they would have gone at this from a slightly different angle than just springing this on the world all willy-nilly, and instead gone and talked with their fans, talked with people, and come up with a solution that was more in line with the fans, because as an Arsenal fan, knowing that every season we could play. I would have the option of getting to see Arsenal play Barcelona, play Real Madrid, play Bayern wasn't in this league, so I shouldn't talk about. But play all these big giants from Europe is very appealing, but it still rubs me the wrong way because I feel like you have to earn it. You have to earn your spot. as an Arsenal fan right now, we don't deserve to play the Real Madrid, the Barcelonas, the Bayerns, the PSGs of the world right now. We got to at least show that we deserve our spot on the table before we can show up, So like I think the big thing that it was like it kind of spit in the face of the meritocracy, the teams that can punch above their weight. Like this season, maybe West Ham ends up in the Champions League. That'd be crazy. Leicester looks like they're likely to make it into the Champions League as well. Like these are two teams that were not part of this accord, but they're going to have their shot at playing the European giants this coming season. And that's something that like soccer loves the underdog story, and that's something that maybe this tournament might rob a little bit. But to be fair, in a 20-team league, there's going to be the teams. Not every team gets to be Real Madrid. Not every team gets to be Barcelona. Not every team gets to be Man U. Not every team gets to be Man City. So you're still going to have underdogs. But
yeah. To build on that, like it just kind of it does steal away some of that that magic in soccer, where like you couldn't see like a minnow play a giant and the minnow actually does something against that giant. This just puts all the giants together into one room and they play each other, and yes, some giants are taller than that other giants, but it's still just giants against giants, and it's like it's giants.
Yeah. yeah, but there is there is something to be said for the champions. So this league is likely, so the league that they're creating would have likely produced a higher concentration of talent than Champions League. If you just took the 20 wealthiest clubs in the world, that's generally going to produce a higher concentration of talent than if you had all of these leagues and have all these play-ins. Because my dad is Hungarian, and he always roots for the Hungarian teams that make it into Champions League. They have not won a game yet. Like, so the Champions League currently like allows some weaker teams in it based on the integrity of the game, and this Super League was seeking to remove all of those wild card teams. It was going to keep all of the big teams. All the big teams were just going to stay and keep making more money and keep staying there. But all these wild card teams, but at the same time, that felt like you lost the opportunity to root for some of these wild card teams, to root for these teams that whose annual budgets are 1/100th of some of their rivals, and we get to root for them and root for these things like I think of, let's see here, like you get to see sometimes, teams go quite far. Like Porto a while back won the Champions League under Mourinho. I'm not a huge fan of Mourinho, but something like that isn't likely to occur in a Super League. Because a team like Porto isn't likely to be admitted into the league at the start anyways.
Yeah, Patel. So, like, based off of all this, what are your thoughts? What are your what is going on in your head right now?
Well, I see what they're trying to go for with the Super League, but I just feel like wealthy clubs doing things behind closed doors seems pretty elitist, and so I can understand all the backlash. And I'm sure like the existing leagues, like the Champions League organization, or like the local leagues like La Liga or like Premier League, didn't want to lose any revenue there, so I'm assuming they also like put up pressure as well. So I understand that.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that yet. Josh,
do you want
to talk about league on league pressure? It's a fucking war of words and politics that went down.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah,
shots were fired.
Yeah, no, and FIFA was not behind the creation of this at all. So like they like they like immediately were like, this, no, we don't like this. They even like had like they were, and a lot of the reasons people started backing out was because FIFA was like, well, if you create this league, it's not associated with us. So like your players won't be able to play in any of our other competitions. So that would mean like the UEFA Champions League national, they wouldn't be able to play for their national teams. And like for a lot of players, like that's the peak where you're like where if you're playing for your nationality, that's like a badge of honor. And like you wouldn't be able to play for your nation if you were playing in this league. And so and that was very interesting. I don't know. I didn't hear a whole lot about the the bashing from league to league, but I assume there was quite a bit because I would like to hear what because I haven't heard this, Dustin, so I would love to hear about this.
A number. So I watch most of the Premier League, so I can speak for the Premier League. So basically, when this statement came out, the Premier League was like, yeah, we're not going to let them play even in the Premier League if they join this Super League. They're going to be banned from domestic, international, and Champions League, possibly in perpetuity if players play in this, which is actually ridiculous to me. So I get fan backlash, and I get the but that actually, like, so I didn't want the Super League to happen, but I think how the FA and how the how FIFA and how these international bodies handled this was straight up bullshit. Okay, like that was them flexing their monopoly power for no reason other than to flex their monopoly power, right? Like, so that really showed that that we can't have like no one can create a competitor. No one, like these teams, these leagues will like FIFA and the Premier League and these leagues will band together and actively squash any form of a competitor league appearing, which like to me rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like it should be up to the fans what they want. Like the fans said they didn't want this, so it shouldn't have gone through. But it shouldn't be up to like the FIFA has like no stake in this, really.
Yeah.
FIFA handles international soccer tournaments. Like they handle the World Cup. They handle like it shouldn't matter to FIFA whether what actually happens here. I mean, maybe I'm just totally wrong, but I think it shouldn't matter whether there's a European Super League or there's a European Champions League, like at the end of the day.
Yeah, for me, it was the same way where I was like, where I was not happy about the UEFA this Super League coming together. And then I was also not happy because like FIFA was like, hey, no, we're going to crush this. Because like it again, that goes back to the whole idea of giants versus giants. It's like the Giants are just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna fight each other because we can, and the loser in all this is like the soccer fan that just wants to see some good soccer.
Yeah. That's just the thing, right? It's it to me seems like it like. I maybe the argument is that they're opposed to it because the soccer fans were opposed to it, but I don't think they were opposed to it because of that. They were opposed to it because they had financial interests that they wanted to protect. And the fact that if a new league wants to be created, like, so the thing that worries me is if the fans all come together and all want a new league to be created, is FIFA, is the FA, are these other like soccer governing bodies going to squash it like they did this one? I hope not. But what it really shows is that they can.
Right. Yeah.
They can squash out competition if they want to squash out competition. And
that's very true.
That's worrying.
I hadn't even thought about that part
for the future of soccer. That if we want change, it might come with a degree of fighting against the establishment. But at the same time, correct me if I'm wrong. Do either of you? But I believe the Champions League is looking to adopt a similar structure to this Super League, where it's going to have larger brackets of teams.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're looking to expand onto because right now it's in the group. It's 32, right?
Yeah. Right now it's 32 off the top of my head. It's 8 groups of 4.
Right. So I think like there's been talks for a while trying to expand it to 64, which is a lot. That's a lot of teams.
64.
Yeah.
No, that's too many. That's too many. There's not enough teams in Europe that can fill that are good enough. Like currently with 32, you get most brackets have, like, I shouldn't say most brackets, but there's at least 3 or 4 teams in the tournament who go away after 6 games with negative goal diffs in the plus 10, like negative goal diffs of 10 or more, and that's after 6 games. That's pretty crazy,
Yeah. I don't know if it is 64.
You don't want.
That's just I know that they are thinking of expanding it from 32 to a higher number, divisible by 4. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued by that.
I think 40.
What I heard was. I don't think I don't know the exact numbers. I was hoping someone in this chat would know, but guess not.
Turns out we're all stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's see here. So where I was going with that is one thing in the Super League that had a lot of backlash, but I thought was intriguing, and I'd be curious to hear your guys' take, is the static nature of the Super League had a pretty substantial backlash. The fact that teams were guaranteed a spot in it just by signing up. Now, I think that's probably too extreme, but it got me thinking, is there a rationale to have some sort of entropy or some sort of way to slow down so teams don't change, so the Champions League doesn't change as often? Like this season, for instance, Liverpool's probably not going to get in there, but they probably should be in the Champions League if you think about like the quality of talent on that team, right? Like,
yeah, no, that's a very interesting question, because it's a
like,
double-edged. It's a double-edged sword, because like you have to be flexible with allowing teams that might not necessarily deserve to be in there, because if you're not, then you just then it's just the same teams, and then it just kind of gets monotonous and it's boring.
Well, I don't think it gets boring is the thing. Like, because what I was saying was, for American sports aren't boring. Maybe the American sports soccer doesn't have the talent, but it doesn't have to do with the league structure that makes it boring. Like American football is
That's
one
true,
of the most watched sports in the world, and it's a static league, right? So it allows for rivalries to really crystallize, because teams are just constantly playing the same team, so you just really get rivalries. Yeah,
but there's always some sort of change as well in a static league, where like because the players are always changing, and so like that keeps it fresh.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree. American sports have a much more fluid transfer policy, so maybe that's that plays a factor into what makes it interesting, is that you get to see different player combinations way more frequently.
Right. Yeah. So
than you would in another static league.
Exactly. So it maybe if you made it static and then allowed for much more fluent transfer, then it might be interesting. But like, yeah, that's a very interesting like take on that. Huh. Because I agree. Like right now, like Liverpool is only doing poorly because most of their players are hurt.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I saw some statistic. They have I saw a statistic that ranks teams based on the number of total player games missed through injury. So basically, for each player, if they miss a game from injury, it gets a tally of 1. So if you have 5 players injured for one game, you get 5 player injuries for that game, and so on and so forth. Liverpool I think I looked at the stat in March, was at something like 170 games or something like that missed. Like that, like at that point there were like, and this was for the Premier League. So at that point there was like 25 games played or something like that, and they had 170 something games missed.
Wow.
Like it's something insane like that. You know, like they had like, right, because they've had both of their center backs out injured. They had center mids. Like they basically across their center spine out injured for this season at different portions of the season.
Yeah, and right now Real Madrid's fighting an injury bug. Their entire back line is injured, and so like the last 3 games that they played have all been draws, and so it's like they're not at a super great form. So like
okay, to be fair, Real Madrid has been fluctuating between form and out of form this entire league.
Yes,
season.
they have.
Like,
yes, they have. But now we have an excuse. Our entire back line is hurt. This is our excuse.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because
Real Madrid. I think Chelsea's beating them. Chelsea's beating them for sure.
I hate to admit it, but they probably will. Like, but I thought Liverpool was going to beat them, but
no,
Liverpool's
in shitty form.
Right, but I'm hoping that Real Madrid can pull through.
Yeah,
but
I'm
also when this was starting, the UEFA Champions League had put out a statement where if like this went through, they were considering banning Chelsea, Real Madrid, and PSG from the Champions League this year, and those are 3 of the 4 finalists. So it either would have gone. Oh, and not was it? It wasn't PSG. No, I think PSG would have.
PSG wasn't part of the accord. It was so PSG would have won by default.
Yeah, PSG would have won by default is what would have happened. or they were also thinking of possibly like being like having a play-in game between Bayern Munich and like Porto or some like 2 of the teams that just lost, and then have them play PSG for the champions. Dumb. And I was like,
yeah, like there's so much dumb politics going around.
Exactly.
Like you see what I'm saying? Like they're like, what the heck are they doing?
Right. It's just like, oh, you want to do this? No, we're gonna do this. We're like everybody's just being greedy. Is the whole thing.
That's great.
So I bet PSG was hoping this would go through so that they would finally be able to say, "Hey, I won the Champions League."
I don't think PSG wants like I don't think like so. I might be wrong here, but I suspect the fans don't want wins by default.
Oh no, yeah,
they want to actually fucking earn it.
Yeah,
like I was talking.
That was
like,
more of a joke.
As an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't I wouldn't have wanted Arsenal part of the Super League, even though it directly benefits them, because I want them to make it by their own merit. I'm a fan of a lot of the players on the current Arsenal team. I'm hoping they have a lot of young talent, and I'm rooting for that young talent to be able to push them forward to success. I don't want to see it handed to them. I want to see those players earn what I think they're going to. Because I do think maybe I'm perpetually optimistic, but I do think they're going to make it back to where they were. I think you know.
Yeah, I think
But
they have
wanna
a chance.
I want. Yeah.
But the thing about Arsenal is, uh, so Patel,
Yeah,
based
that meme.
on like, what are some of your thoughts? Some more of your thoughts about this?
No, I mean, like, I kind of am in the same consensus of like this league was probably bad, but it does bring to light that if there are changes, I think as you guys mentioned, they're gonna have to go through FIFA and other organizations, so it might be like a huge battle. But I think generally speaking, I kind of like the format the way it is because I think it does allow a lot of weaker teams to sometimes make it into Champions League and stuff, which sometimes doesn't always produce the best matches, but at least it's like creates more underdog stories. And like usually you still get top tier
Yeah.
talent at the ends of the Champions League anyway. It's very rare that like a really bad
Yeah.
team just like completely has an upset. Like you're usually still getting your Bayern Munichs or PSGs or whatever of the world in the finals or semifinals.
Yeah, and I love watching
Yeah.
the uh, um the games where the like as a Real Madrid fan, I'll watch some Champions League game where they're playing someone who's not really as good as them. I like to watch that and like look at the different players on that team, see be like, okay, which players playing good, which players are playing not so good. Like, is there anybody we could poach off of this team later? Because that's how I watch it. I'm like, hey, maybe we can find a diamond in the rough here, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Speaking of good players playing on teams maybe not as good, what do you think of what would you think if Martin Odegaard stayed at Arsenal? Would you be opposed to that?
Which one's Odegaard? I'm trying to
Odegaard is the Norwegian.
Okay. Wait,
Norwegian kid
you said
who,
stays at like.
So he's on loan from Real Madrid at Arsenal, and I think Arsenal should keep him.
Yeah, Odegaard. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking for some reason I was thinking of
Danny Ceballos.
No,
Danny Ceballos is also
Ceballos is also from Real
Arsenal
Madrid.
has two Real Madrid center mids on loan right now. Both of them are doing pretty well at Arsenal. So,
yeah. No, I want him back.
You could give us the rest of your center mids too. You could no. Go in the reverse. You should give us all of your center mids.
I mean, Toni Kroos and Modric aren't gonna live forever.
Yeah. What are they? Like 33 and 34 respectively, or something like that.
They're old. They're getting up there, and I love them.
But they're still some of the best midfielders in the world.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they really are.
Modric's assist against Liverpool, where he kind of just found a pocket of space in the box and just passed it off, was great.
Yeah,
like he still has such a good awareness of spacing and passing lanes. You know,
I know who I was thinking of when you said Odegaard. I was thinking of Holland. I'm like, he's not at Arsenal.
He's not at Arsenal, nor is he at Real Madrid. I don't even know how you got that.
Because he's Norwegian.
He's at none of the. He's not. He doesn't even. Is he Norwegian?
I mean,
I know he's Scandinavian.
Yeah, he's Scandinavian.
One sec.
I'm pretty sure he's
Scandinavian.
Norwegian.
One sec.
You've heard of Holland, right, Patel?
No, actually, I'm a very
what the fuck is wrong with you? You explain to him who Erlen Haaland is.
He's a wonder kid. He's like 19 years old.
Yeah, he's Norwegian. Yeah, he's Norwegian.
So when that's why I was thinking of him.
He's like the Luka Doncic.
He's 20 years old.
He's 20. Dang it, I was so close. Yeah. He's really young. He plays for Dortmund for now. He scored like, I don't know, 100 goals in the Champions. That's a little extreme, but like he's.
I just had him on my phone. I'll look up the exact stats.
But he's really good. He's really young.
This podcast is just turning into This podcast is just turning into us looking up stats on.
That's okay.
Online and
This
sharing them
podcast
with
can be
people.
whatever we want it to be.
Yeah, but no, he's basically the next. Well, not the next. Well, most people are trying to argue that he's as good as Mbappe. He's not.
Okay,
but
he's better.
Whoa, really?
He's a different. I think he's he's younger in his career for one. For two, he has 38 goals in the Bundesliga right now for Dortmund in 41 appearances. Bundesliga is a way better league than I shouldn't say way better, but it's a better league than.
I agree. Yes,
it's a better league than the French league. I'm not going to say way better. That's too strong, but it is definitely a better league. And and he as a 20-year-old, he has 38 goals in 41 games in the Bundesliga. That's
pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. Maybe maybe I shouldn't say Mbappe. He's definitely better than Mbappe. Mbappe, like they're different.
I think there's arguments for both that you could
different
go
types
either
of
way.
players. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But for
you
would go Mbappe, but
Holland is a center forward.
Yeah,
Mbappe is a winger. Like
yes.
So it might not be a great comparison.
Yeah, no,
because just based on that, because they occupy different positions. Like
really
Holland is like a 6'5" Viking beast, and Mbappe is a God-given freak of nature when he runs.
Yeah, pretty much.
like they're both genetic freaks in their own regard. But if we're gonna do hot takes, I'll do my hot take. I think because we're talking about forwards, Harry Kane is the best forward in the world.
Whoa! What?
Center forward in the world.
That came out of nowhere.
What? We're talking about
best
forwards.
Center forward.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
you heard me. He's the top goal scorer in the Premier League right now, and he has the top assists in the Premier League right now, playing for Tottenham, which is doing at best okay this season. So he's playing on an okay team, and he's tops the charts in both assists and goals in the Premier League. That's a hard statistic to argue with.
It is pretty hard. And the names that I'm thinking of that could go up against him are not necessarily center forwards, because like Lewandowski is a striker. Benzema is not really a center forward, and I would put Harry Kane over Benzema.
Harry Kane's better than Benzema. Just
easily.
Say.
Yeah,
basically, I think I would say across the board, his talents are. That's not to say anything bad about Benzema. He's a very good forward, but
no. As a center forward, yeah, because Firmino's a center forward, right? Or is he more striker?
Firmino's a center forward, but he hasn't scored jack shit.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything.
Not even just in general, he's not a goal scorer.
It's true.
I think Firmino takes a similar role to me as like Olivier Giroud in kind of a support center forward. He sets up like both of them. Like, don't get me wrong, Giroud and Firmino and some of these other supporting center forwards are very, very talented, but I think when you compare him to someone like Harry Kane, who has more assists and more goals, it's hard to justify.
Yeah.
The compare.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, and it's just hard to think of him as like a top tier center forward because he is on Tottenham. And like,
yeah, I know. Tottenham's not a top tier team. Yeah, they might not get into Europa League this year.
They might not. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, Arsenal's not getting into Europa League probably either. So be a sad place for both the teams to hang out on the sidelines.
Right, and those were two of the teams that were included in the Superliga. So it's like you're good enough for the Superliga, but not for Champions League.
They were included in this. Well, they were included in the Super League based on revenue.
Right.
So the teams in the Super League, so Arsenal makes something like $380 million annually. Tottenham makes like $440 million annually, and it puts them in kind of contention for like eighth and ninth richest clubs in the world or something like that, something kind of in that range. So when you order the clubs based on wealth, they still finish in the top 15, which is how they got put into the Super League.
So that was the basis. Was just monetary value.
I mean, I'm sure they paid attention to talent, but you know, like it was business. It was the business leaders of each of these teams coming.
That's true. Yeah.
Together and coming up with this league. It wasn't Jurgen Klopp. It wasn't Pep Guardiola. You know.
Yeah. No.
Like
definitely.
it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest managers of all time. It was the owners of the companies who were, or I shouldn't say companies, I guess teams.
Yeah.
They're handled by.
I mean, they're companies so. in a way. So yeah.
Yeah. But like it was essentially the CEOs coming together and talking about this deal, and not the people on the ground actually producing the entertainment and the talent and the quality that everybody enjoys watching.
Right. Yeah.
So it's the wrong group. I think, in my opinion, it's the wrong group for deciding these sort of things. I think.
Right. If you're gonna try to create a different league, you start with the fans, see what the fans want, and then go up from there. You don't start top to bottom, you go bottom to top.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's giving more games, and I like more games, but my worry is, so what we saw in this season with a condensed season with COVID and some of these other factors, injuries across all teams, not just like for some of the teams. All teams suffering way more injuries this season than in any, like, and you can look at the statistics. I don't know them off the top of my head, but you can just look and you can see that 2021 has a substantial spike.
Oh yeah.
And I want there to be less injuries. You know, I want there to be like, if we can reduce the number of like midweek games in some way, like maybe, like for instance, for the Premier League, there's the League Cup, right? Like what's the League Cup really doing? You know, it's doing something. I'm an American looking at the English game, and I have my hot takes on this, right? So I'm sure there's some history behind it that I'm not aware of. But to me, it's just a way to get players injured, because the prize pool for this thing, for the League Cup, is something like, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't want to spit numbers out, but it's a fraction of the percentage that you would get for even finishing like 15th in the Premier League,
right,
for winning the League Cup. You know, it's not even close. So like, there's not really a financial incentive. Recently, the teams who have been winning it have been the top teams anyway, so it's not even giving money to the smaller teams as a way to even things out, which could have been an argument in
the past, yeah,
for having these like extraneous tournaments. Like, because in the past, you like, maybe when I first started watching soccer, like 20 years ago, you know, there was a lot more variety in who would win the FA Cup versus League Cup versus the league. So maybe the argument could have been that those like secondary tournaments were good for like spreading out money around, but I don't think that's an argument anymore.
Yeah, because I mean, like, and I can't quote exact numbers, but a couple of the last Champions League winners have been also treble winners, and trebles used to be rare, like really rare. Now it's like every third team that wins the Champions League is like a treble winner. So it's like, is it really that impressive? I mean, it is still impressive, yes, but it's like, it's a little bit less. It is still impressive. Yeah.
Because it seems, because I guess the thing is, I guess the takeaway would be money begets money.
Yes.
So the teams that made money continue to make money. You know, like so most of these teams, you know, like Arsenal's in what is it? They're in 10th place in the Premier League right now, but they still, compared to most clubs in the world, like as I said, that they make they're like the 10th richest club in the world, maybe 11th or something, like something in that range. So, they're so much wealthier than the clubs around them. And it doesn't matter about the talent on the other teams. Like all things even, that money's eventually just going to push Arsenal back to being above them.
Right.
For now, like this is a deviation from the norm. Give it a few seasons, and the teams that had a lot of money are going to continue to have a lot of money and are now going to be ahead of those teams. That's just how it's going to work. You like, for instance, you saw a while back, like these sort of things like really make me sad. Like you saw a while back in the French league, Monaco won the French league, right? Off the back of Kylian Mbappe's success. So what did PSG do? PSG bought Kylian Mbappe,
right,
from the league winner to the rival, right? That's crazy to me. Like, so you get these teams that have these money disparities where they're able to just buy the talent from their direct rivals, and just they reduce the competition in their leagues, and then you see these like one league, two team leagues.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's fair, one of the biggest problems in soccer, and that's kind of why, like, perhaps the backlash, at least from the fans, is so harsh against the Super League, because it's just kind of a continuation of that. I feel like in terms of soccer versus like more American leagues, it has some of the worst redistributive policies in terms of like restricting free agents or things like that. It just seems like there's a lot more ability of teams to use money to get the best players, which sure happens in like every sports league. But I feel like in soccer, it's also gotten worse in like the last 10 years. Like, I feel like it's always Bayern Munich from the Bundesliga. It's always Real, not always, but generally Real and Barcelona from La Liga. It's usually like Man U, Man City, Chelsea, sometimes like Liverpool, from like the Premier League. So just like all these same teams over and over again.
Yeah. Like, and bringing back to the example of like, so Man U has a lot of money, right? So when Alex Ferguson left, they were in disarray. They weren't doing good, but eventually they bought enough players that their team is now in second place, right? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it just normalizes back to the status quo, even though for a few seasons it looked like they were struggling. But at the end of the day, they spent something like $500 million on players, and lo and behold, when their rivals are spending like a fifth of that, they're going to be ahead of them.
Yeah.
Like so that's and it's, I don't actually have a problem with teams having money. What bothers me is when teams buy players from their direct competition, because that creates like so when Lewandowski went from Dortmund to Bayern, for instance,
for free, for free, which is that's ridiculous.
Right, that's a little, like, I don't like seeing that. That's. Or when Mbappe goes to
from
PSG,
Monaco to PSG,
I don't like seeing, like, I know and I don't want to fault the players. So that's not where I want to go with this. I don't have anything, because it's a business, right? It's their job. If they got a quote unquote promotion at another company, even if it's your direct competitor, right? It's their job. Like, of course, they might have loyalty, they might not, but you shouldn't expect them to hold loyalty if they're getting like a pay raise at a new company. It's just, they got, like, it's their job. They got to make money. They got to support their family. They got to support their kids. So at the end of the day, you can't fault the players. You just kind of have to fault the system a little bit that allows these sort of things to happen.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, like, the amount of money that PSG ended up spending on Mbappe was insane too. It was like, what was it? It was like 300 million or something like that. It was like ridiculous.
I don't think it was that much. Are we talking dollars or euros, or it's gonna?
I think euros.
I'm going back to Google.
It was a big amount.
much was Mbappe bought for? Here we go. First search result. 180 million
I was way off.
euros. No, you
185
weren't.
million.
You were nearly exactly right on the conversion to dollars.
Oh wow.
I don't know if you were going with dollars or euros there, but if you were going with dollars, you would have been almost exactly right.
But yeah, it was like a ridiculous amount of money. But like and they haven't been able to win Champions League with him yet. So the return hasn't been as great as they wanted, but it's still kind of ridiculous that because now Monaco's kind of irrelevant in the league. I think they're in like 4th or 5th.
Yep. Which is kind of crazy considering they got all that money and weren't able to. So some teams that have done very good about producing talent, selling talent, and turning that into actionable results is like Tottenham. Tottenham's had Modric, they've had Bale, they've had a number of extremely talented players that they've sold to Real Madrid for inexorbitant amounts of money.
Yes.
And that's worked quite well for all parties involved.
Right.
Tottenham has been able to boost the strength of their team, and Real Madrid has been able to win some Champions Leagues off the back of Bale and Modric's talent.
Another team that does pretty good with that is Dortmund. They'll bring in players for like 20 million and end up selling them for like 100 million after they've been able to produce. And they're going to make bank off of Haaland when he leaves.
Probably. They might be able to make bank. They might not. Like, he's worth a lot of money, obviously, but they have to. The thing I see is who's going. So what? Like who's going to buy him? Right. Like, so there's only a small number of teams who can buy him. And I figure it's going to be Manchester United. That's my bet.
I think so too.
So when you think about it, so probably not Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich could afford him, but would they really want to sell him to buy? Like, that's like, if they have another option, they're going to want to send him someplace else, right? You got Real Madrid and Barcelona. There's no way either of those teams can afford him.
No.
And that's,
no way.
That's really because their financial situations from COVID are just terrible. Both those teams are in horrible financial situations. So
that's a big reason they wanted to make this whole Super League thing, because they were like, oh, we need to recuperate some of that money. Because of COVID.
Yeah. So you got those two teams. They're not going to be able to do it. I feel like he's not going to want to go to PSG because PSG might, like, he's not going to be the main man at PSG. Mbappe is going to be the main man at PSG because Mbappe is French. And it's a French team with a French superstar. Mbappe is always going to be the main man there. Unless he gets injured or something, so he's not going to want to go there. What other teams? So there's Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea,
Man City. Yeah.
Man City don't want him. He doesn't fit to their games plan. Like, Man City takes different types of players than that. Right. They want but that said, I mean, they can retool their team around Haaland. De Bruyne sending in balls to Haaland
does be so gross,
unfair. That might be unfair.
Be so gross.
Maybe I take it back. I might have convinced myself Man City might pick him up. He doesn't fit their current style, and he doesn't fit what Pep Guardiola's styles generally are. But that does sound disgusting.
That would be a fun team to watch. De Bruyne like giving balls to Haaland would just be so disgusting to watch. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would hate it. I'd be like,
Liverpool might actually want him with Firmino's poor form this season. That's kind of the type of player that would actually. So Chelsea and Liverpool might actually I don't think Chelsea's going to pick him up because
I don't
Chelsea
think so because
has
they
a
just
young
spent a
team
ton
that's
of
already
money.
being built. Yeah, they just spent a ton of money on forwards. I don't think they're looking for it, but he would fit to what they're looking for. And Liverpool, it would fit as well because they have Salah and whoever their other forward is. I don't know who it's going to be because Mane has scored like 1 goal in the last like 6 or 8 games or something like that. So maybe he's not their go-to man anymore. But
Maybe.
But their outside wingers are mobile forwards who like to run in behind, and that would fit very well with Holland. He's a very strong player. He's got good hold up play. He likes to be in the box to score goals, so he could fit well for that. But Liverpool tends to be frugal in their purchasing.
They really are. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
tend,
so I don't think
be,
Liverpool would. Yeah, I think it's between Man City and Man United.
Yeah, it might just be, that'd actually be a cool. Like I would be intrigued to see that bidding war. So so if it's actually, to be fair, if it's Man U and Man City fighting over him, Dortmund's gonna make bank. Like the night, like because like those are the arch rivals, right? They're not gonna want each other to get the player. They're gonna, and they both make fucking bank. They both make so much goddamn money. That's pretty. I'm intrigued. I want to see Holland in the Premier League. That'll be fun.
That would be Holland in the Premier League would just.
I just hope he doesn't go to Bayern. I don't want him to go to Bayern. He might go.
No, he's not. He's not going to Bayern. There's almost no way he goes to Bayern because, like, number one, like they still have Lewandowski, and he's still their main man there. Even if he is getting older, he's still gonna be a premier player for 5-6 more years. So they don't really need to.
Yeah, Holland isn't going to Holland, like if they buy Holland, he has to play over Lewandowski is the thing,
right? And you don't do that to Lewandowski
because they can't pick up a 20-year-old talent and not A, start him, and B, develop him.
Exactly.
So probably doesn't go there.
Right. It just doesn't make sense for either side for him to go to Bayern Munich. Tell, where do you think Holland's going to land?
Just heard about him like 15 minutes ago.
I honestly have no idea, so I don't even want to speculate.
So that means you probably have the best odds if you were betting on where he would go. You'd just be like, yep, that's
all
right.
I'm going to say Man City, having nothing to back up that claim.
That's reasonable. I mean, Josh and I talked ourselves into that. It really could go either way. So I think Manchester United, to be honest. I'm still sticking with where I originally went with my bet, but especially because their center forward's Edison Cavani, who they need to replace because he's a kind of aging guy. So
I mean, I would love to see him at Real Madrid, but that's not going to happen.
There's no way in hell so if Real Madrid buys him, that, like, to be honest, if Real Madrid buys him, that's terrible for Real Madrid from a financial apparatus standpoint. Like, there's no way. I shouldn't say there's no way. I'm sure there's a way that they can refinance their debt, and they probably have some financial geniuses on their payroll. But at the same time, I'm hard pressed to think of how, if you're $300 and something million in debt and your annual revenues are like 700 million, how going another 200 and something million in debt is going to balance itself. That, like, if they buy Holland, they're accepting that they're not buying another player that's expensive for the next 3 to 4 years. And that might not be a good bid to lock themselves into, regardless of.
I mean, his talent could.
Have you looked at your center midfield? You're going to need to spend there.
We just take back our players we loaned to Arsenal. That's all we got to do. We're like, sorry, you want these guys, but we need them more. I mean, it could happen.
It could happen. Be intriguing.
I mean, I don't think it will. I honestly don't think it will, but it would be fun.
been fun joining the podcast for the first time.
No worries. If that's it, we could at least end the recording for now. But appreciate you, Josh and Dustin, for coming on.
Yeah, I was really
I don't have much
interested.
more to.
Yeah, same. But I was really interested to hear Dustin's thoughts because I'm a soccer fan, and I know he knows more about soccer than I do. So I'm like, I want to pick his brain. So like, I was like, and thank you, Patel, for helping me put this together. It's fun.
This is fun. I
Yeah.
can't wait to put this out there.
Yeah. What type of audience do you get for these? Am I gonna be getting like strongly worded emails about from fans of teams that I insulted today?
I think usually most of these videos get 30 to 40 views, which is still pretty good. But
nice.
I don't think you're
That's
gonna
pretty
get any fans, with the backlash. I don't even know if they'd have your information to even find it. But I guess it's the internet.
I mean,
Yeah.
I did insult the MLS, and the MLS is going to come after me once they hear this.
100%.
But I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I can take the entire MLS.
I mean, they don't have that much money. I mean, yeah, yeah.